another episode of TIDES. I'm your host, Shveta Malhan, and as a managing partner and co-founder of Yenza 3, I work with HR and business leaders to navigate AI-driven change, ensuring that organizations adapt, adopt, and thrive. Today, I'm thrilled to have Olya Bogoyevich join us. Olya is a seasoned leader in business transformation, digital strategy, and change enablement, with over 18 years of experience aligning technology with strategic goals to deliver measurable results. In today's discussion, we'll dive into practical ways to manage and transition effectively during AI-driven change. And if you're curious about how to empower teams, foster adoption, and navigate resistance to change, this conversation is for you. So let's get started. Olya, welcome to TIDES.
Happy to be here.
So, Olya, AI is reshaping industries in profound ways. The scope, the size, and scale of this is turning out to be truly unprecedented. And I always compare this change to this movie title, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. So, from your perspective, what makes AI-driven change so unique compared to other types of transformations that we've experienced in the past?
Well, I really like how you put in connection with that movie because it's really, really very similar to what organizations experiencing these days. When you think about transformation and any type of technology transformation, you can compare it to when you're building a house and you're renovating a house. You may knock a few walls down, add a fresh paint, buy a new furniture, and you're done. You are ready to host your new big event. With AI, it's completely different. AI is becoming a roommate that's kind of moving in with you. And that roommate is constantly evolving. So first, it might be helping you with the dishes. That is automation. Before you know it, it will be reorganizing your kitchen, which is the process optimization. Then it might start suggesting new meals, which is decision making, or even might suggest that you need to drink some water because, oh my God, you had a 10 coffee today. So why is this different transformation? Why is it more unique when you're implementing AI versus an ERP? Number one, we just said it, it's always evolving. So it never stays the same. You can't be set and forget it. Because in digital transformation, usually when it comes to other technology tools, you have a nice communication, you train your people, they adopt the tool, and off you go. AI is constantly evolving. When you look at the AIs that mostly are used by majority of people, like ChatGPT, for example, it's not the same that it was 2 years ago. So people like myself that start using it 2 years ago see this progression. So it's constantly evolving. It's also changing roles, not just workflows. So AI isn't just about efficiency. It shifts what humans are focusing on, which can be exciting or it can be terrifying for some people, right? It depends how you introduce that. Also, it needs trust. So, for example, if you're in a lineup in the supermarket and you're doing a self-checkout and it suddenly freezes, you're not going to take that too seriously. However, if you're working with AI and it starts hallucinating and giving you results that you didn't like, you're definitely going to give it a side eye. And some people do it once or twice and then they say, oh, it doesn't work. So that's why that trust needs to be built with AI. So organizations that really win with AI are the ones that treat it like a partner and not just another tool.
Beautifully said. I love your analogy of, bringing AI to a relatable example of us in our household. I can't wait for the day when AI is making decisions for me.
Give me some more water.
Yeah, but I hear you that it's a journey and it's contextualized to the readiness of the organization. So organizations that are early on in this experimentation or implementation stages of AI, what would you suggest to them to be their starting point? Because there are, like you mentioned, 3 flavors of AI. How do organizations make those choices on where to start and how to start thinking about embedding this intelligence in their ecosystem?
A very good question. And here's another analogy for you. I love them because it helps people really understand this with something that is more of a knowledge to them. I got a puppy a couple of years ago,
Mhm.
and just like a puppy, they grow. If you don't set rules with them from the start, you're going to lose your favorite slippers or your favorite high heels. And in case of AI, it's going to chew through your budget. So, number one step, which is really important for the leadership to be united around the vision of AI for their organization. I hear many horror stories from my colleagues that one leader wants AI just because competition is having it. The other one wants it for efficiency. The third one wants it for innovation. So that means they all have a separate goals for that AI to do in the organization. So we want to have that union of what AI is going to bring from our leadership. Now, step two is really picking the right starting point. Now, if I have this beautiful kitchen and I bring you as a person that never cooked before, do I really going to start you with a souffle?
Hmm.
I heard that's the most difficult thing to cook. So we're going to start you with the scrambled eggs. So really understand where we are starting. We want to start small with something that's going to give us a quick wins and a quick buy-in. So remember building trust with the really simplistic use cases like summarizing a document or summarizing a meeting, something that immediately people see the value in. Now, step three would be talk to your people, because you don't want to just announce we are doing this AI across the enterprise. It's a scary thing. You want to give it a bit more transparency. Why we're doing it? How is it going to help them? So the messaging around this is going to either save the time and make you more interested in a different type of work. Definitely helps. Now, another very important thing is setting the success measures. What do you want this AI to do for your organization? And a lots of times when people look at the success measures, it's usually project success measures. So we implemented it in a certain period of time, certain percentages people are using it. So yay, we are successful. So remember, it's not the paint on the wall, it's evolving.
Mhm.
So really that implementation of AI starts after you introduce it to your people.
Mhm.
You want to know what you're measuring. So that comes again to leadership, what you wanted to achieve. Did you want to achieve innovation, maybe create new products? Did you want to make more efficient workforce? All of that is going to be dependent, and you want to have more or less a clear picture where you're going with this. One of the steps that maybe gets people not too excited about AI is regulations and policies. I heard also stories about the companies that forbid for the employees to use ChatGPT. I think it's a mistake. It's better to create a policy and a regulation how to ethically use it, what kind of data goes in it, what are you sharing with that, and educate it instead of just saying bluntly, no, we're not going to use it. Now, all of that is also dependent on what kind of people you have in your organization. Something that I always go back, which I know my friends from L&D love me for that, it's a Bloom's taxonomy. It's how people learn. And you have these phases from remember, understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, and create. So what that does, you need to look where your people are in regards to AI within your organization. Do
Mhm.
you have majority of people, and for the lack of better word, let's call them personas, that heard about AI? Maybe they're in manufacturing or in the industry that not necessarily works with technology. They work with their hands. They're part of the certain process. So they don't really have that early adoption of any type of the AI tools that start showing up in the market. If that's what you're dealing with, you need to really start giving them information about the AI first before you introduce AI into their life. Now, if you're a technology driven company and everybody is used to constantly looking, like being an early adopter and looking for that next best thing,
Mhm.
those are much easier people to work with. With them, you can really dive immediately into the evaluation and creation of the new systems, new products, new processes, something that will help firm. So understanding the what I call maturity within the AI with your workforce is also one of the starting points that you have to do.
Mhm.
So again, treat AI as a journey that's evolving, not one time install.
Yeah, very well said. I want to zoom into the two aspect, the understanding your people aspect and the leadership aspect. And like we said, this change is different than an ERP implementation of the past, and it is everything everywhere all at once. What challenges do you see in step one for getting leaders aligned? Is it easier than before? Is it harder than before? Like I feel like this is where you have to bring a cross-functional leadership together. And that's no one easy task to get them aligned on one vision around AI. What do you think?
It's not, but however, if you have a strong leadership, you're always going to start having leaders that are more innovative,
Mhm.
leaders that see the future. So, really, for them is to tell that story to their colleagues in the leadership.
Mhm.
What are they seeing for this? Giving them in a way that it's more relatable to their industry. Show the scenarios or even stories from the news that are successful. Now,
Mhm.
there are some scary stories in the news as well, and address both and then see what is the risk for that specific business or the organization with bringing AI and
Mhm.
start slow and
Mhm.
create maybe a bit of a roadmap on where do you want to go with AI in a year versus in the next 3 months.
Mhm. Mhm. And like from my perspective, I feel like change is driven easier if it's facilitated at grassroots level. But here, I think hearing you speak, I feel the role of senior leadership executives in an organization. I mean, sometimes even at the CEO level, like once they start talking about it, sharing their lived experiences with AI, in a way gives permission to everybody else to say, hey, looks like it can help me solve my issues in my department as well. So it's such an important thing for leaders to be um, uh, not just, like talking about AI, but promoting the use of AI from top down.
It's interesting that you said that because it's not just AI. With any adoption of any technology in change management, we always talk about executive sponsorship coalition. So if people don't see their leaders really standing behind the change, that change has a very small, really uh, chance to succeed.
Mm.
So it's not really different with even putting the ERP in. The leaders have to not only talk the talk, but walk the walk as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I also want to zoom into the people aspect that you brought to this conversation, which is very near and dear to me. Because in ERP days, from what I remember, this is many years ago, the ERP systems were designed around business processes first, and then people were brought in around with communication and training. But this time around, I feel like this change impacts people at a very different level. Some parts of our jobs will go away. Some parts will be automated. Some parts we will have a coworker, which is not a human, but a AI agent that we have to work with. At what stage of the change journey the voice of people needs to be layered into that executive decision making? And how can companies go about unpacking that voice?
So we go back to personas, right? You need to understand your workforce. You need to understand what is their appetite for AI.
Mhm.
So what we're seeing with AI, some people don't wait for their leadership. They start using the tools outside of their necessarily work environment. But when leaders get united and make a decision, one thing is to really know who your workforce is and meet them at that level. So, depending on, again, what is the majority of people? You need to create not necessarily first upskilling, but you need to give them a safe environment to work with that. So, like I said, very simplistic use cases that can immediately give that value back to the people. Have opened the channel of communication with them. So, listen to them. Allow them to share their stories and experiences. Because most people, and again, change management methodology, it's not Olya said, it comes from that people learn the best and are influenced the best by their peers. Sure, some might can say that's a FOMO, right? The fear of missing out. But if I'm working with my colleague and they're showing me this amazing thing that's helping them cut hours from their work week, I would like to try that because they seem happier.
Mm.
Versus if somebody's just sending me communication that, hey, this is new and you have to use it. The other thing is you absolutely have to enable and engage people with their curiosity, because AI is all about prompting. And in my early days, I can repeat the prompt for a different document and have a different result. So it's really AI adoption feels a little bit like experimentation in a lab, but you want people not to be afraid of trying and failing until they find that nice rhythm, because the agents are going to be coming and they're going to be learning from you how you interact with them. So the more you try and fail and try again, the more you're going to be better in it, and two, you're not gonna that scary feeling is gonna go away. You're gonna start building the trust with it.
And what you talked about in typical change language, those people who can be influencers in their peer network are called change champions, right?
That's
Um,
correct.
so for a change that's this widespread in the organization, are there any best practices? I I hesitate to use the word because this change is so dynamic.
That's true.
But at the same time, are there any tips, tricks, or things that are tried and tested that organizations can use to identify those change champions early on in their change enablement journey in the organization? Where I'm going with this is, how important do you see data around people playing in this mix of organizations managing and enabling this change in the organization?
It's definitely driven by people. This is not driven by AI. You need to think people first. So the way, and you asked specifically about the Champions Network, with any big installation of being it ERP, being it any new technology, you always like to start at least to test what you have. And we like to call that a pilot, right? So you engage a smaller group of people, you give them a bit of a training, and you give them that level of security. Just go and try, experiment, see what happens. And I think piloting in any type of AI is really, really crucial because it gives you that feedback to the leadership. Is this the right way? Is this the right AI for our organization? But it also uncovers people that are very excited about this, because champions are always people that are excited. They're early adopters. They're excited about the new things. What you also want to look in champions are people that like to share the knowledge, that like to connect with their colleagues, that like to support their colleagues. And pilot usually gives you a starting point with, it could be 7 to even 10 people. We're not looking, even if the organizations are 10,000, 50,000 employees, the difference that a small group can make in the long run is really, really impactful versus not having it at all.
So true. And we touched on the resistance related to this change. And I just saw a report come out the other day where the adoption of AI in organizations is quite low compared to what organizations were expecting. So I wanted to kind of revisit our conversation around resistance. Why are employees resisting AI? If AI can make my life, I use AI daily, to make
Mhm.
my work more faster, efficient, and improve and augment my capabilities. But why do you see hesitation, or why are organizations not seeing adoption? Is it resistance? Is it something else?
It could be many different factors. For example, when GPS showed up on the market, a lots of people were a bit hesitant on, oh, where I don't know where I'm going to end up. I know better because I drive my car, I drive my routes, I know it better.
Mhm,
So it's similar to friends that you have that kind of go in circles in the car but do not want to start with a GPS and see where they are. The similar goes with AI. It is the fear that one of my close friends said, I don't want to use AI because my brain is going to start to rot. I
mhm,
will stop thinking because I rely on AI to give me information. Now, completely missed the point because AI is there again to be your co-pilot, to sit next to you as a driver. They are not driving, you are,
yeah.
but they're really helping you with that. Another possibility is they started with souffle when their audience was just beginning to cook.
Mhm,
So asking your workforce to use a complicated use cases or recreate the processes or to use it in the processes when people don't really understand what AI is another common mistake that I can see happening.
mhm,
The other thing is the way you're communicating to your workforce. So saying we are rolling out enterprise AI solution versus we are using this new AI tool to save you 2 hours from manual reporting.
mhm.
Which one sounds better,
Yeah, of
right?
course, the second one.
And
Yeah.
then there is always the elephant in the room. The minute the AI show up, we have enough movies to say how AI took the world over.
Mhm,
People are scared for their jobs and they feel if I refuse to do it, I will still have a job. Not understanding it's the other way around, that you need to become friend with AI.
mhm,
So lots of these mixes can happen. Maybe they try to do a lots of things at once, just fearing that they're going to miss because every single company wants to have AI. So they try to do a lot at once.
mhm,
That sometimes happens even when it's not AI. So you need to start small. You need to engage people in the right way because they need to buy what you're selling. They absolutely need to. So really raising their awareness of what AI is, eliminating their fears, showing them success stories, maybe even looking at their path or their career paths, how they're going to change down the line would be something I would definitely recommend doing.
mhm. So, talk that nicely segues us into my next question, which is around the role of people and culture or HR team in supporting this transformation. Because, like you said, AI can replace parts of my work, which are just, like the mundane pieces of work that I don't enjoy. It can augment the work that I do, and it can independently do work on my behalf. So, in any of those three scenarios, there's a huge impact on the workforce. So, where do you see HR fitting this equation? Is it something that you see business taking on their own? Or do you see a partnership with HR people culture team? And if there is a partnership, what does that look like from your lens?
So it is an interesting view on the things because I feel that HR currently is not playing as big role when we are really implementing AI. And it could be from the perspective that they are not seeing themselves how they are impacted by this.
Mm,
So depending on the organization, some organizations have their L&D teams that can do this upskilling of the workforce. But really, the most of the things that I see HR can help is one, address the elephant in the room. So the jobs will change, some jobs will disappear, but the new ones will appear.
mhm,
So the skill set that we were looking to hire people today, they're different than yesterday, and they're definitely going to be different going tomorrow.
mhm,
So they need to start looking. And I don't think they're missing an opportunity. I would say that they come a little bit later in the whole journey. So They now need to start looking at, okay, if the organization is moving in that direction, what are our policies? How we want to shape the AI ethics, bias, and fairness, where we want to use it. And that comes from the HR or the risk, depending on the organization. Rethink hiring, because the skill sets are different and we need to forecast what we will need in our workforce. And then I think the main one and the really big one is eliminate stress that people may fear of losing their jobs. Because what we really want HR to play a role is how you transition people maybe into different type of roles. Because AI coming in, their role might be changing, shaping. Maybe it's going to become something different. And I think that's where HR really plays a great role.
Absolutely. And all these perspectives that you layered in are so vital because, to your point, I see HR teams at different levels of maturity. HR teams that are just operating at pure operational level, hiring, firing, they are going to struggle the most because those, like if we look at just HR as a capability, that is also being impacted by AI. Those tasks are at more risk of being taken away. I was just looking at the other day, Chipotle CEO, they implemented a platform in their ecosystem for supporting recruitment, and they've seen great advantages from an efficiency perspective by implementing AI into their recruitment process. But where I'm going with this is that if we look at people and culture teams who are looking at employee experience, who are collecting data around employee engagement, who understand the skills landscape of the organization because they have now looked at skills of employees beyond the job title that an employee has in the organization, because we bring so much more than the job title that we currently hold in the company, will be more suited to do what you're suggesting and which they should be doing, because now they have the information to support the decisions of the business. Like, okay, marketing, 80% of your XYZ job tasks are now fading away. I know now what the skills volume of those tasks was, and I can now map skill agency to see how we can grow and develop these employees into other parts of the business where you still need human in the loop. Not everything is going to be automated tomorrow. It's still a journey for us to get to a fully autonomous organization, if we ever will. But this speaks to HR also looking at how to revitalize their function with AI in the mix.
That's absolutely true, because AI comes into the roles of HR. But going back to what I was saying is you shouldn't be afraid to work with your buddy, with your new best friend, to automate things so you can do something that's more strategic in your role.
Yeah.
Looking through tens of thousands of resume, AI can do that as a snap of your finger. And then you can look a bit more strategically at the things, at what their function is in the organization, how AI helps them, but then how they can help the organization and people grow.
Beautifully said. Love it. All right. As last part of our conversation, I would love to explore with you the sustainment perspective on this change, because this change, like you said earlier, doesn't have an end state defined yet. So organizations who are on this journey of embedding this intelligence and are doing things to support this change, how do they sustain momentum around this change when the game continuously changes and evolves?
I have another allegory for you. Remember the days when people wanted to buy a treadmill because they're going to be using it and they're going to be really getting healthy and fit? And when they look today at that treadmill, there's a coat rack and you put stuff on the top of it. AI is not that. So you're absolutely correct when you say it is evolving journey, and it really starts when people start using it. So making that AI ongoing conversation, engaging feedback from people. So implementation without the follow-up is really not going to yield the success that you want. So you want to have AI as an ongoing conversation. Encourage feedback. So find the channels to find out what people are using it, how they're using it, how they feel about that. Tweak AI processes. So if you implemented a new AI process, revisit it after a time. See how people feel about that. And definitely let people or your employees have a say in it.
Mhm.
So that way they're going to feel that it's not imposed on them, but they're going to be really engaged with what it's doing because they are asked for their opinion. And that's really nothing different than with, again, any other change management initiative. You want your people engaged. AI changes over time. We said earlier, ChatGPT evolved, many of them evolving over time. In the last 6 months, you can see differences in many AIs. So how you bring that back to people? So that continuous learning and education, having their engagement with the AI, knowledge about AI constantly rising. So you need to have, I'm not talking about hours and hours of education, but really keeping a small information coming here and there so people stay in the know. The one very important part, we talked about our leaders. We want leaders to continue being engaged, sharing their own stories, engaging their teams to keep using it. We can't have leaders disappear. They need to stay in this journey and continue showing by walking the walk, by using AI and telling their workforce how they are doing it. And that is what's also very, very important. So again, you can't just set it and forget it. You constantly need to evolve on this journey.
Well said. And on the leaders' point, I would like to add that they should also share their failures around using AI along with their successes.
Absolutely. Because when they share a failure, that lets their employees learn that it's okay to fail.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So powerful. All right. So, as we wrap up our episode, is there something that you would like to add that we haven't talked about?
So, a couple of things I would like to really mention. We spoke about HR, we spoke about the leaders, but really, this isn't the HR issue. This isn't the leaders issue. This is every department, every employee needs to know how the AI will change the way they work. And the future is not about human versus AI. It's human plus AI. So AI might take some jobs, but leaders will have a choice. Will it also take people's purpose?
Mm.
And that is what I feel is really the most important part. The companies that get this right and take their people with them, so they will not replace them, but upskill them and make them grow in their careers, they will be not adding the headcount. They will grow as a company and do more with the same teams that they have that they are now empowered. And that's not just smart business. I would call it that's future proofing.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. What an inspiring note to end this conversation on.
Thank you.
So, this wraps up our conversation on navigating AI driven change. Olya, thank you so much for sharing your insights and actionable strategies. It's clear from a conversation with you that managing change effectively is as much about people as it is about technology. And to our listeners, I hope you found today's discussion both practical and inspiring. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe and share. And as always, let's continue exploring how we can innovate and adapt in the age of AI.